welcome everybody, and thank you so much again for joining us for our webinar all about electrical safety and really focusing on arc flash protection and what we can do to help protect those workers who work day in and day out, to keep the electric running, right? For those of you who aren't familiar, I want to give you a little introduction to Apparel. So Apparel's been around for over 75 years now. We only do safety. We've been providing safety products and services for that entire time, and we have a pretty simple mission. We envision a future in which every employee returns home safely every day. Safety is our only focus, so we really do believe that we can help make life safer every day for you and your employees. We are a woman-owned business. We are ISO 9001 certified. We're a GSA contract holder. And more than anything, we are here for you to help you with any of your safety needs, whether it be products, training, or consulting services. Now, a little bit about myself. My name is Kate Manis. I am the EHS Services Manager here at Apparel, and I focus on delivering training and compliance service to all of our clients across the United States and even some in Canada now. I've got over 25 years experience by now in environmental health and safety. Kind of started out in higher education, biomedical research, worked for about 12 years in the oil and gas industry here in Houston, Texas, where I live. And I've been with Apparel for a little over 2 years now. Right now, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today. I'm really excited, and I hope you are too. Let me introduce Adam Meza. He is with National Safety Apparel. Adam has helped electrical contractors, utilities, major companies, you name it. He has helped them develop their arc flash PPE programs for folks all across the country. He has such a wealth of knowledge and information to share with us. I hope that you are as excited as I am to hear more about it today. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Kate. Very happy to be here.
Great. The other thing for those of you who haven't attended our webinars before, we always like to start off kind of level setting with our safety maturity life cycle. In speaking with various companies and clients, Apparel has recognized that many folks have difficulty really understanding where they are relative to others in their industry or to their peers when it comes to safety. So we've developed this tool to help assess where a company is on their safety journey and use that to develop a roadmap to help sponsor improvement. So as we go through today, I'd like you to kind of think about your own company and your own group and where do you think you land on the safety maturity life cycle? Are you at that beginning stages of standard where you recognize that safety is important, but you're still experiencing some recurring incidents? Or would you say you're more in the compliant realm, right? Where you're checking off all the boxes for regulatory needs and you're doing your best to help prevent injuries before they occur? Or would you say you're world class? Are you a leader in safety performance? Are you modeling that behavior for others in your industry or your peers and sharing some of that information so that they too can improve? So keep the safety maturity life cycle in mind as we go through our presentations today, because we'll come back to it at the end. So for a very brief agenda, let me discuss what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some very basic electrical safety information and really talk about the hazards associated with arc flash. That's the biggie, right? That's what we're really concerned about when we're talking about electrical safety most of the time. And then Adam's going to talk to us a lot about the PPE pain points. Arc flash rated clothing has improved so much. The technology has changed and continues to change all the time. And Adam's really going to walk us through the things that you need to do to make sure that you've built a PPE program that is going to adequately protect your folks in the long run. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. So we invite you as we go along. If you have questions, you can pop them into the chat. And if we don't see them and address them right away, we'll definitely circle back to it in the Q&A session. Also, as we go through the presentation today, we're going to have a couple of polling questions. We're going to ask you some questions and what do you think about some things? So same thing, when those questions come up, if you'll just open up your chat box and pop in your answer, we really want to hear what you think. Okay. With that, let's talk about electrical safety, right? Electricity is a serious workplace hazard, but it's all around us. It's essential. It's necessary for life, right? If we didn't have electricity, we wouldn't all be here right now. But we really do have to make sure that we're protecting our workers against electricity. Workers can and are exposed to daily, electric shock, electrocution, burns, fires, and explosions that all center around electrical safety. This is some older statistics, but this is from the Electrical Safety Foundation International. And looking over the last, 13, 14 years, we know that we can expect any given year to experience between 126 to 174 fatalities directly related to electrical injuries. That's a lot. Contact with some form of electrical current is the 7th leading cause of occupational fatalities. The interesting thing, and something that you might not expect, is the majority of those fatalities occur in work segments other than your electricians, right? That it happens in construction and mining and maintenance. It happens in transportation and farming and even management. So it is a very significant hazard that we really do need to address, in an ongoing fashion to protect our workers every day. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to kind of focus on arc flash being the big, bad, most dangerous thing that we normally think about when we're talking about electricity. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, we can define arc flash as the conduction of electrical current through the air. You can think of an arc flash as uncontrolled or spontaneous welding. It can start as an arc from an energized conductor to the ground, or can go to neutral or to another energized phase. When we get into things like three-phase systems and we experience an arc, we're going to experience even more of a hazardous condition. When we do have an arc flash, we see temperatures that can reach up to 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Obviously, at that temperature, we're going to have burns to the skin. Clothing can ignite. If an individual is near an arc flash and they are wearing clothing or other personal protective equipment that can burn or can melt, right, it's going to only compound their injuries and the issues associated with that. These injuries associated with arc flashes are some of the most expensive injuries there are that we can experience in the workplace because of the long road of recovery, because of the rehabilitation that it requires to come back from burns and the situations, that different kind of symptoms and issues you have if you've been exposed to an arc flash. But beyond that emotional scarring that happens to folks, it's not appraisable, right? We can't put a price to that. Some other statistics around arc flashes, between 5 and 10 occur every day in the United States. Those result in, up to 7,000 burns annually, up to 2,000 hospitalizations. And for each incident, we can see up to 1.5, or actually an average of 1.5 million in medical costs. Again, we have that long road of recovery, that long rehabilitation that's associated with these kind of incidents. Even more so, we can see folks who are involved losing 8 to 12 months of time at work. So that's 8 to 12 months of time that not only is that individual not working, but we're needing to fill in for that individual. We have to train somebody, maybe we have to hire some temporary help. So the indirect costs continue to add up with these incidents. And one thing that we do know is that 2/3 of all electrical injuries result from the inappropriate action of workers. So as safety folks, we really have to do all that we can to make sure that it's easier for workers to get it right and harder for them to get it wrong. And there are ways that we can do that. I mean, first off, we got to know where the hazards are. So we need to perform some hazard risk assessment and arc flash study. We need to understand where the potentials for arc flash are within our facilities, right? First of all. Then we can apply the hierarchy of controls. We always start with the most effective means of control and work our way down to the least effective. So we'll start with, elimination and substitution. Is there any way we can physically remove the hazard or replace the hazard? Well, we're talking about electricity, so it's probably not really feasible for us to do those things. Then we look more at the engineering controls and how we can isolate people from hazards. So if you think in your own facility and think of areas in which you have high voltage, how are you controlling how people can access those locations? Is it behind a locked door? Is it behind a locked fence line? Is there tape on the ground indicating where untrained people can't go? These are all some of our engineering controls we can use. Beyond that, then we'll come to the administrative controls. So that's our worker training, that's our standard operating procedures. These are the things we do to change the way in which people work and provide them, we hope, with as much information as they can to make those right choices. At the end of the day, when everything else is either not practical, not available, or not working well enough to mitigate the risk, then we go to PPE, right? We've got to protect the employees. We have to educate them. We have to make sure that we're providing the correct, proper PPE for them. And that brings up our very first poll question. So here it is. Again, if you can just answer in the chat, what do you think is the most important factor when deciding what electrical or arc flash PPE to purchase? Voltage, that's a good one. So I'm getting my chat open so I can see your answers. Cal rating, yeah, Michael, that's right. That's right. ATPV, you guys have some really great answers. Here's the part where I'm going to turn it on over to Adam and see what he says. What do you say, Adam?
I love the range of answers. From ATPV to comfort. That's great. I would say that all that stuff is a given as far as ATPV and all the standards. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I would say comfort, performance, breathability, and whether the person's going to use it, right? Whether they're going to use it, because you can check a box, but if the person doesn't wear it, then the job has not been done. That's probably a longer answer than I should have given. Okay.
I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and get started with just an intro to a couple of our brands, our electrical safety brands. First, we'll start with Dry Fire. So Dry Fire is the premier FR apparel brand across industries. We're leveraging technology developed for America's special forces. So this is really impressive technology. Now, the garments are comprised of advanced proprietary technologies and fabrics that keep you safe, comfortable, and performing. The gear is built to last. We like to say that from the battlefield to your field, the Dry Fire brand. Inespro. Now, Inespro has an excellent ethos. So Inespro started as a electrical safety brand, arc flash kit task-based brand, and it's diversified into a broader electrical safety brand. Now, the Inespro brand was designed to fix arc flash kits. For many, many years, qualified electrical workers would have to suffer with uncomfortable garments. So the Inespro brand went across the country, asked utilities, electrical contractors, 70E industrials, Mr. and Mrs. End User, what's keeping you from wearing the gear? Mr. and Mrs. Safety Person, what's keeping you up at night? Mr. and Mrs. Purchasing, what's burning through cash? And they distilled that down into meaningful innovation that has truly pushed the arc flash kit space to continue to innovate and to advance. And we continue to do that. Now, who needs arc flash protection? We're putting them in these three buckets, right? Utilities. Real quick, a quick shout out to the utilities. Thank you so much. If anybody's out there, thank you for what you do, especially now as we're suffering through these winter weather. I'm in Chicago. When the lights go off, you're going out in the cold to make sure the lights stay on. So thank you so much. So utilities. I like to think of utilities as, if you're in the air, you're wearing FR apparel all the time, right? FR apparel. You're not donning a 40 cal kit up there. So you're gonna have your face shield, and all your shock protection as needed. When you're on the ground, you're probably going to be donning a task-based kit, generation, metering, substation. You can go from Cat 2, Cat 4, and go beyond 40 cal depending on the incident energies available. Contractors, electrical contractors, and HVAC folks, they're going to go into mechanical. They're going to go into dynamic environments, right, to host employers usually. So they're probably going to look at the tables in NFPA 70E and make sure that they're protected. They've done the right kit. Also, the task-based kit's going to be a little more conservative. You're going to have a little overprotection, which is good. So you have to be prepared for those dynamic environments. These task-based kits really help with that. Cat 2, Cat 4, and you can go beyond 40 cal as well on some data centers, hospitals, older buildings. General industry, that's your manufacturers of the world, right? Those folks are usually doing an incident energy analysis, like arc flash studies. So they know this panel is going to produce this amount of incident energy if anything ever happens. This panel is going to do X, this does X, and they'll have a report, right, that the safety leaders can use to properly outfit folks. Usually they're going to be in a uniform program, and then they'll don usually 40 or higher calorie, depending on the need at the plant. Now, what is an arc flash? It's a terrible thing. When I talk about what we do, it always comes, at least for me, with a bit of weight. As you heard earlier, Kate, all the things she said, what an arc flash can do, it changes somebody's life. It changes their physical appearance if you're not protected, and they can change your livelihood. It just changed everything. So it's so important to be protected and to give the folks the gear they need to be ready. Heavens forbid something ever happens. So 1,000 feet, you see the metrics there, the speed, the temperature, terrible thing. Now here's a 40 cal arc. Let's go ahead and play the video. This is older footage, some of the original videos that were taken to capture this in real life. This is where you see everything happen. In slow motion, you see all the air being ionized. It turns into plasma. You're just enveloped by it. And then you have molten metals that are just liquefied and sent towards you. Now, street clothes will ignite at 2 to 5 calories. If you're not wearing the proper gear, you're wearing fuel, and that will continue to burn. You see, you have to be able to walk away from that arc with less than a second-degree burn. Now, these are the electrical safety standards, the consensus standards, general industry on the left, NFPA 70E, we all know it. OSHA 1910-269, we call it the arc flash law for power generation, transmission, and distribution. Now, here are some of the test methods and standards that are associated with electrical safety. So 1506 is a performance standard. It's an overall kind of arcing umbrella standard. 6413 is a test method. It's a vertical flame test. That's a test method, not a standard. And then you have the 1959 test method for a fabric, right, for arc rating of the fabric. And then 2178, it's the arc rating test, basically a 1959 test method for a hood. And you'll also use that for a portion of a hood, like a face shield, something like that. Now, a lot of folks will ask sometimes, well, how do I know this works? How do I know this arc flash kit works? There are a lot of rigors that go in to the development of an arc flash kit system. So if you look in the tag, you'll see 1506, you'll see 1959, 2178, depending on the garment. And just know that the garments have gone through the rigors to be able to be used. Now, safety awareness. This is a big one in general, right? If I get in my car today and I say, well, you know, I could probably get in a 10-car pileup, right? I'm never going to say that, right? We don't say that. We don't think that. It's snowing outside. It's icy, depending where you are in the country. We don't think that way, because if we thought that way, we would live in fear, right? So that idea of it won't happen to me can really get you. Even the most seasoned and qualified electrical worker might get distracted. All of you out there, you're watching the webinar. We're all learning, but there's always something. There's a thread. There's always a thread pulling at your attention, Did I take out the trash? Now my wife has to take it out. Did I pay the light bill? My insurance, did I pay the insurance? There's always something, right? And that something can be the difference between somebody making a mistake or somebody before you making a mistake and causing an incident. Now, I like to bring this up a lot. There's a shortage right now of qualified electrical workers. And when you think about the work that they do, it makes this happen. This right now, all of us, all 55 of us are meeting together from all over the country, probably the world, to meet. And a qualified electrical worker is making this possible. So I like to say, take care of them. Take care of them, give them what they deserve, give them the best gear so they can do the best work that they can do. This is a study paper from NICA. So just know that there's a lack of qualified electrical workers. Let's really celebrate them and take care of them.
That brings up our next poll question, Matt. What are your biggest pain points when it comes to electrical arc flash and PPE? So again, if you want to pop into the chat, what is your problems? What do you experience in your workplace when it comes to either choosing PPE or getting your folks to wear PPE? Well, Adam, what do you say to this? What do you think the biggest pain points that people experience are? I hear comfortability. Yep. Getting people to understand the significance of not wearing it. That's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Getting people to understand what happens when they don't. Yep. Proper understanding, getting it tested. Yeah, those are all real pain points. What do you think, Adam?
Honestly, for me, folks covered a lot of the great ones. They beat me to it. I'll add a different one, is getting past the fact, not thinking of it as a business situation, removing the dollars and cents of it, and thinking about what we're protecting and who we're protecting, and what's going to happen if we don't protect them, and how much it'll cost if we don't protect them. So it just removing the dollars and cents and remembering that is a person doing the job.
Absolutely.
Now, encouraging compliance. So there's an old saying that goes, a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You can tell somebody to do something, but if they don't want to do it, they just might not, right? They just might not if the boss is around or what have you. So here's a study from VPPPA 2016 survey, safety professionals and users. Over 90% were observed not using their gear. So 90% of folks were noticed not wearing their gear correctly. So that was because it was uncomfortable, too hot, it was a poor fitting. And here's the very human side of it. It didn't look good. I didn't look cool in my 40 cal kit, right? So these are real things. And if you can engineer out these pain points in the manufacturing and innovation process, development process, I should say, you address a lot of these factors. Now, we talked about the human factor, right? So that's such a big deal that it even has an annex, an NFPA 70E. Now, NFPA isn't handing out annexes, right? In 70E, you have to earn one, right? So it talks about humans are fallible. To be human is to err. right? You have you have the distraction again. We talked about the distraction, that thread pulling at your attention. If that thread is pulling at your attention when you're doing a very important job, or somebody before you did that job, that could lead to an incident, right? So what do we do? What do we do, right, to reduce that distraction? Now, I love talking about this. We're going to get a little nerdy now with the Yerkes Dotson Human Performance Curve. So on that calm side, that's us getting up in the morning, right? Reach for that cup of coffee. We have our cup of coffee right in there in the middle. Optimal performance. That's us right now. Learning about electrical safety, really taking the time to come and edify ourselves. Just really, really learn for our teams and to serve, to just do a great job. And if I keep talking for the next 2 hours and Kate pulls out the hook and says, Adam, that's enough about the Yerkes Dotson human performance curve, that's distress. I'm joking, but distress is you're outside 114 degrees in Council Bluffs, Iowa, under the sun, right? And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid people going into distress. If you can help folks perform and be comfortable, that is king. Performance is great. Comfort is great, but performance, if you can get that going, it usually means you're going to be comfortable. You're going to make a lot of people happy if you're comfortable and performing. Right? Now, heat is a big deal. If you're not comfortable, that you're just raising the risk of getting in an accident or hurting yourself or hurting somebody else. Here's a really impressive study. So over 75 degrees, you have a 2% loss of productivity for every 2 degrees, right? Now, productivity is an important word because everybody wants a project to be productive, right? The end user, safety, operations, the owner, everybody, right? So if you lose productivity, that's bad. If you keep performance, that's excellent. And if you get hit with a heat exhaustion incident, that's a big hit. And remember that 75 degrees is not very hot. That's a pretty normal temperature. So just keep that in mind when building your program. Now, here's a history of garment innovation, fabric innovation. The good thing is the industry is pushing forward. We're pushing forward to reduce the heat load, keep people comfortable, and help people perform. I always like to use the word performance because everybody can get behind performance, right? Comfort leads to performance, right? So here's an 8 cal kind of a history. You have 37% lighter 8 cal options, 17% lighter 12 cal options, and 47% lighter 47%. Listen to that, 40 cal options, which is great. Newer fabric technologies that are really performing. Now, I love talking about this. Hydrophilic and hydrophobic movement. This is super important, right? So hydrophilic are fibers that basically love moisture. They'll absorb it, right? Hydrophobic are fibers that push moisture away. So what you want to do is you want to leverage both of these together to pull and push moisture away from the body, and that's very, very useful in multiple environments. You're going to have a garment that'll dry 2 to 3 times faster than a 100% cotton garment. I was at a utility the other day in beautiful part of the South, and the leader said, we're sweating bullets out here. We start sweating and we stay wet all day. And sure enough, they were wearing a 100% FR, fabric, FR apparel shirt. And it's just not going to let go of the moisture. So you really want to have that hydrophobic movement that will pull and push moisture away from the garment to help it dry faster. Now, seeing and being seen in low light. So on the left side, that's an image of on the top is a green face shield. Somebody looking through a green face shield, right? Can you tell me what color those wires are? You probably can't, right? You compare it to the lower one, which is a more modern nanoparticle face shield that's gray. You're going to have better color recognition. You're going to have most likely a better viewing window. So you have a broader viewing window, a lot more modern. Also, those green face shields, a lot of them have organic materials in them. If you're out in the UV a lot, maybe mechanical or just somebody out in a yard, that UV will deplete the efficacy of those organic materials in those old green face shields. So if you have a green face shield, if you can, it makes sense, go ahead and I would upgrade that to the New York gray ones. Light mounts, NFPA 70E requires proper lighting when you're doing work. So make sure you have a cool, like a light stand or something. If you're casting shadows and it's getting in the way, make sure you have LED light kits. Or if you don't have a light stand, just get some LED light kits. You can add them onto the hoods. Then enhanced visibility. This is actually a really good idea. This was Nika's idea for search and rescue. So heavens forbid there's an arc. You can come in that retro-reflective, we use 3M, retro-reflective material will speak in the light. Now, comfortable PPE, what does it do? Reduces distractions, reduces heat stress, increases compliance, and improves worker satisfaction. And that's the big part right there, right? If you can keep the worker happy, they just want to come to work, right? Like me, I mean, you can tell I love my job. If I didn't, you would know, right? If you can keep employees comfortable, happy, they're just going to do a better job. Now, here are some of the financial sides. So all the you safety leaders out there, you can relate to this. I saw an image the other day on LinkedIn, and there was a jar of money on one side, and it was kind of half empty, and then the jar was full. And this one was the safety budget before, and this one was a safety budget after an accident. So the financial risk of non-compliance, if somebody doesn't wear the gear right, and you have direct costs, indirect costs, total cost of injury, it adds up. But if you're the person on the job where this, when the accident happened, or if you were the leader that follows you, it's going to, if you're an electrical contractor, it's going to affect your insurance. You'll have a report. Just there's a lot of pain on the other side of that. So this is a useful metric to help when talking about building a program at a plant or at a company.
I've got another polling question for everybody.
Excellent.
And maybe this one's more of a quiz. How often should you reassess your Arc Flash PPE program? I'll give you a couple of seconds to drop your answers there into the chat. How often do you think you should be doing that? I get every 5 years from Howard. All right. He said it really big too, and giant font.
Yeah, he knew it. He knew it. He knew it. He tied it to something. It's just smart. Yeah.
If something changes, definitely. Yeah. Yep. Good point. Did they nail it?
Yeah. They're great. All those are all right. I didn't see the last one. It passed by quickly.
Is it when there's a change or every 5 years? So yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Well done.
All right. Building an Arc Flash PPE program, super important to focus on where you are, right? So you have to determine your Arc Flash protection needs. Are you using incident energy calculations, right? Are you a manufacturer at plant? Are you using the tables? Are you an electrical contractor, right? What are you going to need? Is it task-based? So task-based is usually is a kit that you will put on, and you will use it for a task. Let's say you do a task 1 to 2 or 3 times a day. That is a task. If I am doing this task repeatedly all day, or if I'm exposed to the hazard all day, then I really want to be in daily wear, right? In a uniform program. The conditions, the climate are all important. You are somebody in a hot space, cold space. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then the characteristics that are desired are important to keep in mind as well. Head to toe protection is super important. Accessories, lighting, what have you, super important. Always remember, only cover the parts of your body you want to keep, is what I like to think. I cover the parts of the body that I want to keep if something happens. Now, here are the PPE categories. This would be associated with the tables. Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. So Category 3, industry is usually jumping over Category 3, and we'll go right to 40. Honestly, industry has really invested a lot in 40 cal. So that Category 3 space is usually jumped. Category 1, you're not wearing a face shield, rather a balaclava. You are indeed wearing a face shield. You're not wearing a balaclava. When you get to Cat 2, when you're in the Cat 2 realm, I should say, you are definitely wearing a balaclava. And that balaclava is very important because something called the chimney effect. So if an arc happens, you're not wearing a balaclava, that'll go right up here and just destroy your neck, right? And we need our neck. So we have to wear a balaclava every time we're engaging gear in the Cat 2 realm. And there are technologies as well that will give you a shrouded system that will allow you to not wear the balaclava. So it'll be a shrouded system equal to a hood. And then again, Cat 3, we usually jump. Cat 4, really, there's a lot of Cat 4 in the industry. If we're jumping out of, we're using our uniform program all day, and then we have to go over that uniform capability, we're usually jumping into a Cat 4 garment kit. Now, instant energy analysis method. I like talking about this one because this is, if you're at a plant, you're following that incident energy analysis method. You're thinking in a different way, right? You're protecting 1.2 calories to 12, right? 1.2 is where you have to start protecting, right? 1.2 to 12, and then if you're jumping over that, you're wearing a protective ensemble that is equal to or greater than the incident energies that are available in the plant. Now, as you saw, there are just different ways to approach it. If you have an NFPA 70 ebook, there's an Annex H in the back that also will talk about a simplified approach. Environmental conditions are super important, right? Working conditions. Is it cold outside? Is it hot outside? Is it going to be rainy? Are my utility worker out in the rain, right? Very important considerations. Now, the garment type as well. With the aesthetic, the functionality. So am I an electrical contractor walking in to a customer? Do I have to look professional? Are my sleeves going to get dirty? Is my belly going to get dirty? Do I need a color blocked system so I look more professional, right? Do I need to be seen on the road? Do I need a type R class 2 or 3 garment? And then this is super important, everyone, super important. This really helps with just compliance and folks wanting to wear the gear. Ask yourself the question, how am I going to wash this garment or kit? Because that will mean that you're going to add an SOP to make sure that that is washed, and so whichever way you choose, or you're going to think, and I just experienced as I walk customers through this during the pandemic as well. If you have a lot of people engaging 40 cal, some folks said, well, I want to get everybody their own kit, but I don't want to buy 40 kits, right? Do we need 40 people engaging 40 cal really? I mean, how many of those are qualified to do that? People will readjust that. Oh, I have maybe 10 qualified workers. We'll put those folks in 10 and 40, and then we'll keep the rest in category 2 work in Cat 2. So just ask yourself, how am I going to wash these garments and kit? Now, the next to skin is important to keep in mind. So what's against the skin, right? Is that against the skin garment going to perform? Are they going to be comfortable, the folks that are wearing the gear? You want to have 360-degree protection, right? Neck. Are you out in the sun? Do you want to have, you might need some neck protection from the UV. Outerwear. Do you, again, need to be seen from the road? Do you have to work in very aggressive, extreme weather, right? Like utility folks. Or general industrial having to go out to the powerhouse, right, to do troubleshooting. Shock hazard, of course, you always need your shock hazards addressed as well. Now, this is a picture of somebody wearing a garment correctly, right? All the way buttoned up. You want to be all the way buttoned up. If it has buttons, you want to use them, right? The sleeve all the way down, all the buttons fastened, and then you tuck in your shirt. You don't want to have your shirt untucked. If you have your shirt untucked and there is an arc flash and you're wearing a 100% cotton shirt, which NFPA 70E allows you to do, you can have a chimney effect that will ignite that cotton shirt. And once that shirt ignites, it's going to burn. So you want to make sure you have your shirt tucked in and you're really protecting yourself. Now here's a video of a non-FR undershirt and an FR shirt. You tell me which one is FR. I see right away, right? Right away. You see the garment on the right. You're absolutely right on the chat. Absolutely right. Thank you so much. On the right, you see the proper, what the garment's supposed to do: carbonize, not ignite, not become fuel. If we sat here and watched that video keep going, we would just see that the shirt continue to be consumed, and it would keep going until it's completely consumed. You're better off not wearing a shirt, not wearing anything at all, than that happen. So I like to say that an AR FR base layer under your uniform, your daily wear program, your arc flash kit is the most inexpensive insurance policy you can ever invest in. If you're already in a uniform program, they can add those base layers, FR AR base layers into that program. If they can add them to stores, in the plant, there's a lot of ways to address a base layer, and people are going to love you for it. And then we go back to the performance again. 100% cotton is going to hold on to moisture. So if you've invested in a really cool, uniform program or task-based kit, that shirt's going to rob you a little bit of that performance. So if those new modern base layers, FRAR base layers, will really pay for themselves.
Which brings up this last question, which I think it's, if you want to answer in the chat, you can if you have any ideas about this. But really, I think this is more for Adam as our guest speaker and as our specialist today. What are the biggest areas for improvement that we've seen in electrical arc flash PPE?
That we've seen? Well, we've focused more, we've asked, right? And we've listened. Innovating for comfort, because comfort leads to performance, right? Lightening gear, making the gear more, giving the gear greater mobility, right? Not checking a box on a shirt. It just, let's just put a pretty picture on it and send it on its way. No, innovating in fiber technologies and fabric technologies that help you perform, pull moisture away from the body. We are industrial athletes, not me, but our folks in the chat today are industrial athletes, right? And we want to help them perform as such. So it's all about lightweight, comfort, performance that they deserve. Now, increased comfort. This is super important, right? I like to get a little more in the weeds on this one. So when you sweat, your skin is going to sweat, right? The biggest organ, the largest organ in your body is the skin. There's the most of it, and that moisture on the sweat is going to produce itself on the surface. It absorbs the heat from your hot skin, right? And it evaporates, and you're cool. You've cooled off. We want to have the garments allow this to happen. If the moisture is just sopped up and kept on your skin, it's not letting your skin do its job. So you want to have a breathable, moisture working in a fast drying garment. You see there on the bottom of the perspiring skin, high humidity, and then you have the base layer and outer layer. If those are both hydrophilic and hydrophobic, that movement will continue to push the moisture out and help you be a lot more comfortable. This is true in the heat, for hot heat exhaustion, right? But it's also true for the cold. You want to have some layer, if you're wearing layers, a base layer, a work shirt, and then maybe a hoodie, you want to have those to be a little loose fitting so you can have air in between those garments, and that air is going to get warm, and that's going to help you keep warm. In a hoodie, for example, if you have 100% cotton or 97% cotton, 3% spandex hoodie, that's going to absorb moisture, right? And those cotton fibers are going to swell up, and they're going to eat up all that space, those little interstices, little spaces in the fleece that trap air and keep it warm, to keep you warm. So it's really important to have this movement both in hot and cold environments. Now, this is a bit of a product spotlight. Speaking of modern performance, this is our Inespro AGP. Using input from the field, electrical contractors, utilities, 70E industrials, how do we make the gear better, more comfortable, easy to wear? We added 26-inch zippers, so if you're out in a day like today, you don't have to take your boots off to put it on. You have really impressive knit panels. Folks used to say, when I lift my arms in my arc flash kit, it feels like I'm lifting the world. I need some movement, mobility, so we added knit under the arms and progressively made it more larger panel to make it easier to move around. It's almost like you're wearing a windbreaker. Articulated elbows, very, very impressive. A fabric in the collar that kills the germs that cause odor, and articulated knees. Again, constantly listening to the end user and innovating with their very, very important information and input, I should say. Now the hood, super important. Hoods are super important, right? You have all the senses right here, super important. You're engaging here, you're looking at it, you're listening, right? These modern hoods have a broader viewing window, nanoparticle technologies, technology embedded into the polycarbonate of the face shield that will give you a clear view of, pure view, I should say, of the wires, so you don't lose any color recognition. And again, broad, beautiful viewing window, offset venting to allow for better airflow, using 2 fans that give you a really impressive a runtime of 11 hours using some 9-volt batteries. Very advanced, very impressive, and very comfortable. Now, the next right here, this is the part of the job I really love to do. So ASTM doesn't have a sunset date on arc flash kits, right? You can have a kit for 5 to 8 years. You might want to upgrade after 8 years because technologies are going to advance so much. But this bag protects the hood from being broken or scratched. We got a lot of input from the field, especially from electrical contractors. You put this bag in an old arc flash kit bag, which is basically a gear salad in a job box, and then here came the drill, and it was gone, right? You'd break the face shield hood. That's like 30% of the price of the kit. So we invented this amazing structured duffel bag that will protect the hood from being broken or scratched. You have a garment side with aerating garments to allow the garment to breathe during long-term storage, a separate pocket to keep the rubber voltage rated gloves from being damaged in any way. As you know, one pinhole and you've completely lost shock. For a wet day like today, you have a rubberized bottom so you can set on the ground, you won't soak up moisture. We've also developed a very modern version of this for backpacks, a backpack version to put in the back of your fleet truck, or if you're climbing at an automotive plant. I love this part. We give you the part of the ethos of the brand. We give you the best technology and give you the tools to take care of it. It's an investment.
Thank you so much, Adam. Just kind of to wrap us up before we get into our questions, as we said, electricity is essential. We have to have it every day, but we cannot afford to become complacent to its hazards. We have standards in place to help determine the best methods of protection. Use those standards. Use the information that is out there to ensure that you're doing your best to protect your folks. Comfort level and the way something looks, Adam's absolutely right. It has such an impact on if somebody's going to wear it or not. If it's not comfortable and I don't look good in it, I'm going to be a little more reticent to put that on, even if I know that it's going to protect me in the long run. So as EHS professionals, as purchasing folks, we all have to think about how we can work together to, considering all of our environmental conditions, considering the garment functionality we need to see to develop an electrical PPE program that is going to make sense for the company and it's going to, above all, protect the worker. And with that, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. I will say, as we're waiting for questions to pop up, if you have questions after the fact today, you can always reach out. You can reach out to Adam, to myself. You can reach out to your Arbel safety advisors, and we're always happy to help. We do have one question there in the chat, Adam. That's, are the moisture wicking underlayer garments also FR rated?
They are indeed. They are indeed. So you'll have that peace of mind knowing that undergarment, that base layer or t-shirt, is not going to be fuel. It is ARC rated.
Oh, that's a great question also, Rebecca. Yeah, does any FR material lose efficacy after washing?
So in the old days, that would happen. In today's modern AR and FR fabric manufacturers cannot sell you gear that's gonna not work anymore. Whether it's treated or whether it's inherent, it's gonna be ARC rated for the life of the garment. You want to look at it. You want to make sure that it doesn't have any holes, or there isn't any wear that it looks concerning. If that's the case, you want to make sure to get rid of that garment.
Norm asks, do you have a testing program for your PPE?
Well, we have a lot of awesome partners that can help with that. And I'm sure that Kate can help you with that question as well.
And Amber asks, do suits need to be replaced after a certain amount of time? I think
So
this one's an interesting question too.
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta one has to inspect it every time before they use it. You want to look at it, make sure there isn't any holes. You didn't, pull snag it or somehow. Check the entire kit, make sure it looks good before you use it. You're walking towards the job, boom, you hit a panel or something. You want to make sure that you check it again, right? And then you have to check it every year, no matter what, for an arc flash, for the arc flash gear.
Excellent. Those are great questions. Thank you, everybody, for submitting those. Just a little bit about some of the additional services and training that Arbel can help with if you have need. We certainly do a whole host of safety trainings. I put up some of our specific trainings around electrical safety up here. We also do a lot of consulting, including arc flash studies, lockout tagout procedure creations. If you have any questions about the additional services we provide, I put our website up there, arbel.com/ehs-services, or you can always reach out to me. You guys have my information now, right? You got my email. You can reach out to me and I'll be glad to help you out. Now, bringing it back to where we started and bringing it back to the safety maturity life cycle. This is the point where I ask, okay, you've been thinking all along during this webinar, okay, we're doing that aspect of this PPE program correctly, or maybe we're not doing such a good job on some of these things. So again, think to yourself, where is my company? Whether it's just looking at electrical safety or looking at the entire workplace, where do I stand within my safety journey and where do I want to go? And if you want to have us come and assess that and help you make plans to improve, we absolutely would love to do that. That QR code there goes straight to my my calendar availability. I'd love to meet with you if you have any questions at all. We can do a complimentary safety strategy session so that you can learn more about our holistic approach to safety, both products and services and consulting and training, and what we can do to help you meet your safety goals. One more QR code here, as well as the link that Sari dropped into the chat, is for our very short, very brief survey. So if you have time and you would like and you're so inclined, please share feedback, right? Because we thrive on it. We want to know what you want to see more of. What kind of topics do you want to see in upcoming webinars? What should we continue doing? What should we stop doing? What should we do differently? Please, if you have the opportunity and the time to complete that brief survey, we'd appreciate that. Otherwise, as I mentioned, my email there, kmenace@arbel.com. If you have any concerns, any input at all, you can always reach out to me as well. And with that, I want to thank all of you for your time today. I really appreciate, we've had such a great response and everybody's been really engaged. And also one last thank you to Adam. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise today.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate Arbel. A real pleasure being here. And thank you all for attending. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Be safe.